Here's El Root the Dirt Coppinger. Let's dissect this a bit.
Had to endure a week of threats and trolling as a result of declining to answer a question here last week. So I've been subject to relentless trolling, and there is no question that declining to engage with Gript brings on a massive response from people who support it. So I just wanted to say...
Sorry, hang on. It wasn't just anyone that supports Gript that had an issue with this, by the way. It was even the lefty NGO heads had an issue with her not answering the question. So even her own people had a problem with it. She's a paid representative. She should be answering any question that gets thrown away by any member of the press.
That we will engage with the media, but every single person, like Leo Varadkar, didn't engage with Gript at one point. Enda Kenny didn't engage with Vincent Brown, you know.
Ah, right. Oh, okay. So it's a case of they didn't do it, so why should I have to do it? You know, here's that passing the buck again. Once again, always comes into play, doesn't it? Passing the buck. These people never own up to anything. Like, they're completely empty vessels. That's what they are. They never own up. No self-responsibility. That big thing that Jordan Peterson, when he first got onto the scene, he's been gone a good few years now. And people have different views about Jordan Peterson, don't get me wrong. But his 12-step thing, yeah? The main point of that book was self-responsibility. These individuals have none of it. No self-responsibility. It's always passing the buck. But sure, they didn't do it, so why should I have to do it? Do you know what I mean?
Lots of people don't engage with the Sun newspaper, you know? And, well, I'm glad to see some journalists are...
This fool nodding his head as well, see him? It's utter contempt.
Rallying on this great point of journalistic principle, but it is our right to refuse to engage with whoever we feel is not acting in good faith.
Ruth, you talked about trolling online. Do you think it was appropriate for you to call myself and Jack Horgan-Jones very pathetic over the weekend?
The pathetic display of rallying around Gript?
Do you think myself and Jack pathetic?
A shrug of the shoulders. Utterly useless. See, you know when you see things like this, right? And you think back to like a few years ago, last few years and before, you know, people in such positions, let's take Oprah Winfrey, for instance, right? Loads of fucking damaging stuff has come out about that woman. But, you know, she never came out and talked about it. That's these two fools here. That's their biggest mistake, is actually talking about it. Because they're just going to keep stumbling over themselves, you know? She talks about trolling, and now your woman, I think it's your woman, what's her name again? I don't know the names of the mainstream journalists, so you'll have to forgive me. But it was another one there that stood up for Ben when Ruth didn't answer the question. So it's all right for you to troll us, but not for other people to troll you. You know that way? Kiddie stuff, really, when you think about it. And these are on like 6-figure sums, these people, to represent the people of Ireland.
I think a lot of things weren't appropriate last week, Louise.
But you think we're pathetic? Do you not see the hypocrisy? Look, I was trolled last week too. I did.
Oh, it's Louise Bourne. She gets trolled. I've trolled Louise Bourne a few times myself, to be honest. But only because she's mainstream. Which I'll go back and say the previous video, I was a bit shocked when you had MSN, like, you know, the ones, the government lackey newspapers, when they actually defended Ben. I was like, whoa, even they're defending him here with this.
Didn't say a word about you, and yet you over the weekend branded myself, Jack Horgan-Jones, pathetic. Do you not see the hypocrisy in that, giving out about people? And I'm sorry if you had threats, I'm sorry if you had to go to the Gardaí, that's not nice. But you're talking about general trolling. You were trolling myself, Jack. Do you not think that?
It wasn't a troll. I posted about what happened here last week, Louise, because I knew it was going to be covered after. So I put up a tweet saying what happened, that a number of poll cards seemed to rally behind Gript, which is exactly what happened.
I'm not talking about that tweet, I'm talking about the one you sent at 1:30 on Saturday morning, branding myself and Jack very pathetic. I'm asking you, is that what you think, and do you think it was appropriate?
I think it was something like the pathetic rallying behind Brit. It wasn't about you personally. If that's all you had to worry about.
No, I'm just asking you. You're the one.
Amazing. If that's all you have to worry about, then you should just get over it. Why did you start by saying I've been trolled the last week since I made it? You know, it's the hypocrisy of them as well. It's just astounding. I often say, right, and I have done for the last few years, that if there's some sort of veil lifting on these politicians and media, there's a veil that's lifting, and we're starting to see the other side of it, you know, and this is just going to increase and increase. Maybe now in the future you're going to see even more scripted questions. So all the questions that we as Irish people want to ask these individuals won't get even airtime. They won't get airtime at all, because none of the journalists will be able to ask them. They'll ask a question out of turn and they'll be dropped within a week. Yeah.
That was far from that wouldn't have even come into my radar, because the level of misogyny and abuse that I got as a result of authority that was given to Brit last week by one or two folklorists, to be honest.
And you got trolling as well from your side, I just like to point out. But you said thanks to two very pathetic journalists giving him footage. Ben has stood with the Fire Eyes. That was 1:23 a.m. on the 10th of May, which is Saturday. I'm asking you, do you not see the hypocrisy in that? Because myself or Jack never mentioned you.
Nobody in the media mentioned it all week, actually, which was also quite interesting.
I think you'll find it's not true.
Nobody interviewed me all week or came to me for a comment.
That's because Ruth Poisonous Coppinger decided to do two things within the last week, and I've put them up. I put one of them up, anyway, but another one is where, and I thought it was very telling. She went to Dublin Zoo, right? She went to Dublin Zoo and she stood outside Dublin Zoo with a shirt that had loads of little elephants on it, right? And the first thing that sprung into my head was, here we go, like she's mocking. She's doing a form of mockery here. Yeah, in the video she's shown that she's concerned about elephants in Dublin Zoo, right? But what she's doing is, in my head, what she was doing was, I'm purposely ignoring the elephant in the room, which is the fact that we're up here, we're meant to be representing the people of Ireland, but we're ignoring them at the same time. You know? That's what she done. That's the last two things she's done in the last week, since the interview last week.
Our point of view about what happened here last week.
We didn't get any media.
A number of, well, I saw one journalist that did kind of cover it. But I just thought it was interesting that no journalist kind of contacted to see what had happened that week. So, you know.
Do you not believe in the Press Council's ability to function? Because if we don't use the Press Council as adequate means to critique behaviour that is improper, I mean, then it's not up to the whim of politicians to pick and choose who they talk to. But it is, of course, very Trumpian, and we see the impact of that.
But see, it's not Trumpian. Like, I read your article, right? And the distinction between Trump is excluding Associated Press because they refuse to use the term Gulf of America. They correctly use the term Gulf of Mexico. But he is
Everything's a big joke to this tool.
Excluding them from the White House. That's the difference. We don't have the power to do that to Grip. We're not doing anything like that in terms of
Grip.
Grip.
If you are in power, it's very slippery slope, and that's the issue.
No, but we defend the right of freedom of speech and freedom of press.
Who are you not going to speak to next? It's Grip today. Is it the Mirror next week? Is it the Mail the week after? Do you not see why there's an issue?
No, because we draw a very clear line.
The smug face on this thing. Unbelievable.
Disagree with the line of the Mirror, we disagree with the line of the Mail, we disagree with, exactly, we do the line of the Irish Times, we disagree with the line of News Talk, we disagree with RTE, we disagree with Virgin Media, we disagree with all these media outlets.
We live in a democracy.
But we treat them as media outlets with which we disagree with. Grip is different and should not be normalised as if they're just like that. They're not, and I'll explain why they're different again.
Because, let me guess, he's going to say, I haven't watched the entirety of this, but let me guess what he's going to say. He's going to throw in the far right again and stuff like this. That's what he's going to do.
But you have to take it up with the press council is my issue.
People have made complaints to the press council.
I think the comparison to Trump is just ludicrous. You know, I'm not a sexual predator. I'm not somebody endorsing a genocide. You know, I'm not a misogynist or racist, a homophobe.
Do you think it's appropriate to call two political correspondents very pathetic?
I think the behaviour, like if it's being put bluntly to me, yes, was pathetic last week. That's obviously up to them to decide.
The only pathetic, useless human beings, empty vessel fools, is these two. And plenty more of them within the Irish government.
Decide what they do, and they have every right to do it, to be clear.
Just on that last question, though, it wasn't the behaviour that was described as pathetic, the journalists.
Okay, apologise for that word, Louise. Okay?
It's not going to be enough. See his nostrils flaring. Look, they think that they're getting one up on us by coming out and doing this. They're actually making things worse for themselves. The fools, the empty vessel fools, people before profit. Get up out of that. Profit before people.